first part is to discuss the effect of globalization toward Malaysia. Next is analyzing and comparing human and economic development index. Moreover, using six-dimensional model to assess the cultural distance between Malaysia and Australia. The last part is using the David-Ricardo theory to analyze Malaysia and Australia export industry. I will discuss that Malaysia is a winner in globalization using economic and tourism as examples. In 1985, Mahathir put forward Lucas policy to promote economic liberalization and then introduced a series of measures such as privatization of electricity and telephone companies, reforming tax policy to reduce direct taxation and government reduced tariff and border tax incentive scheme for foreigner investors. These measures have brought some benefits to Malaysia. The first benefit is Malaysia attracts a lot of international investors and foreign investment. The number of companies in Malaysia is increasing and is becoming a center of new business opportunities as global investors have begun to view Malaysia as the place to invest their money and establish their business. According to MIDA, Malaysia still can attract foreign investment in 2018. Compared to 2017, foreign investment increased from about ringgit 54,420 million to ringgit 8,520 million. The number of companies in Malaysia is increasing, causing a shortage of labor. However, I think shortage of labor for Malaysia can be considered a good thing. The company can recruit labor from neighboring countries such as Thailand, Indonesia, which helps not only itself but also other countries to help Malaysia better integrating into globalization. The second benefit is total Malaysian trade increased. Total trade for 2017 grew by 19.4% to reach 1.774 trillion, with export achieving a new high of ringgit 935 billion, rising by 19.9% over 2016. Import expanding by 19.9% to ringgit 838 billion. The second effect demonstrated by tourism. With the globalization of tourism, every country tries to take place in the international market. Malaysia is a popular tourist destination because it has the high quality of the nature and cultural tourism resource. Malaysia is not only a target of overseas tourists but also a target of local people. Malaysia is raising awareness on the protection of culture and strengthening national pride. Cultural tourism is especially important in Malaysia, characterized by the tourist desire for local color, festival, and costumes. The country population consists of different ethnic groups, the most important of which are Chinese, Malays, Indians, and other ethnic groups. They live together in peace and harmony. Malaysia's cultural diversity is an asset to the country, which is demonstrated by three religions coexist. When you walk down the street in Malaysia, you can see mosques, Christian church, and Buddhist temples at the same time. Tourists traveling to Malaysia can experience different cultures. One of the main attractions of Malaysia is the extreme contrast. There are some small wooden houses next to high buildings. Compared with Singapore, Malaysia emphasizes more authentic culture, heritage, and natural beauty. Singapore's image as a modern city stands in stark contrast to Malaysia's artful blend of old and new culture and nature. The first benefit is economic development. Malaysia's economy was boosted with a total of ringgit 84.1 billion in tourist receipts from the outlay of above 26 million international tourists who visited Malaysia throughout 2018.
Globalization is a pushing force for advancing economies. International trade activities resulted in the creation of job opportunities as trade volume increases. Malaysia has one of the highest number of international migrants in the world. They are highly demanded to fill up the labor gap in certain industries. Migrant workers are only allowed to work in labor-based sectors such as construction and agriculture, 3D jobs that are largely shunned by Malaysians due to social stigma. Nevertheless, these industries contribute greatly to Malaysia's export and GDP, increasing the demand for migrant workers. Malaysia's primary sector has been largely dependent on foreign labour, as the abundance of job opportunities resulted in international migration. In 2016, the government announced a plan to allow millions of low-skilled Bangladeshi workers into the country to fill the labour gap. This decision sparked outrage as there have been complaints about the influx of illegal migrants, and they are often the scapegoat for social issues. Malaysia aims to attract skilled workers to build a competitive workforce to attract foreign direct investments. The process of globalization has also resulted in the rise of illegal immigration. A hierarchy is created by the government among foreign workers to combat this. It guarantees rights and higher levels of integration to skilled workers, whereas low-skilled workers are limited in their rights through governmental power. This resulted in a lack of proper law enforcement to safeguard their rights, placing them in a vulnerable position to exploitation and human trafficking. Below are news of human trafficking crimes being revealed through a mass migrants' grave discovery at the Thailand-Malaysia border. Besides that, cases of abuse of foreign domestic workers are also rampant in Malaysia. This situation depicts the clash between globalization and state sovereignty in the context of immigration. Regulations to safeguard migrant workers' rights, stricter immigration control, and a change of mindset of Malaysians towards low-skilled jobs is needed to alleviate this situation. Malaysia's tourism industry is thriving due to the advancement of international trade. Tourism advertisements frequently pride on sandy beaches. Ironically, a lot of beaches in Malaysia are polluted with plastic waste and debris, losing its charm over time. Beaches on the east coastline are more exposed to intense wave tides on the South China Sea, whereas beaches on the west are polluted due to the Straits of Malacca as a strategic shipping route for trade. The shipping industry, overfishing, and tourism are some of the main attributing activities to the abundance of plastic waste ashore. These industries created various non-biodegradable waste such as fishing nets and disposable packaging. Malaysia is the world's second largest palm oil producer. As biodiesel is one of the most efficient oil crops and emits less carbon, demand is increasing, making this commodity a main contributor towards the country's GDP. Nevertheless, the increasing production of palm oil has its downsides. As plantation owners convert forests into palm oil plantations, deforestation leads to the loss of biodiversity and endangers the ecosystem. It also increases the carbon volume in the atmosphere, as rainforests are able to store more carbon compared to oil palms. Lastly, biodiesel production diverts palm oil away from human and animal consumption, causing prices of agriculture products to rise and increase the needs for pricier imports into the country.
To continue with, Australian firms should consider aspects such as economic and human development in their decision to expand in Malaysia. From the research, it indicates that the GDP of Malaysia is having a stable increase from 1990. The GDP rose more than twice in 2016 compared to 1990, which is 27,500 per capita. This data shows that the economic environment of Malaysia has the ability to accept the expansion from Australia. Furthermore, the open market index of Malaysia is 82, which means that the standard is in a very high level, and Malaysia widely accepts free trade and it integrates into the globalization very well. Malaysia scored much higher than other Asian countries in Economic Freedom Index, which implies the standard of economic freedom in Malaysia is quite high. It means that Malaysia is more appropriate for the firm expand their business into with data 74% and 60.6%. What's more, Malaysia government has applied 6 strategy pillars that touch on a range of development issues, including equity, inclusiveness, environmental sustainability, human capital development, and infrastructure. From the graph shows the data of female labor participants have approximately increased 10% from 2006. Inclusiveness is aimed to increase female labor's share of income through increasing female labor force participation and skilled labor employment. Besides, company expansion also need to consider the side of human development. It's because of that HDI is generally measure the lifestyle of that country with factors like life expectancy, education, and GDP per capita. The standard of HDI relate to the company to consider if their business can be accepted or suitable to expand in that country under different cultural background. Higher HDI is indicating that the higher standard of living, and it means people's purchasing power is stronger, so the foreign business are more easy to expand their business. The HDI of Malaysia is 0.02, which is close to very high HDI criterion of 0.94, and the life expectancy is 75.5 compared to Philippines, Thailand, East Asia, and the Pacific. The standard of education also can be seen as an important factor that affect the domestic economic development. Malaysians have the average 10.2 years of schooling, which higher compared with the other three countries, and it is close to high standard of 12.2 years. In conclusion, economic development should be more significant in it identify whether or not Australian firms should expand into country, in this case Malaysia. Given the high cultural distance between Australia and Malaysia, Australian firms should first establish stable social and business relationships in the home country before finance themselves with the local culture and gradually internalize their business activity. Australian firms traditionally adopt a resource-based view which prioritizes seeking information suited in the context of the country that benefit the process of expansion. Economic Development Index is a common set of the index used across most nations that it is easy to evaluate the development of a country based on a unified, quantifiable method. By contrary, the Human Development Index, an empirical index, makes it harder to evaluate as the cultural context of each country correlate with variation of schools.
Now let's focus on the cultural distance between Malaysia and Australia. There are two topics will be discussed. The first one is Hofstede's cultural dimensions, and the second is Ronan and Shinkar's cultural clusters. Hofstede's six-dimension model include power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism or collectivism, masculinity or femininity, long or short-term orientation, and indulgent and restraint. Data outline of Australia and Malaysia has shown below. The similarity between Malaysia and Australia could refer to two dimensions, as both of them gained similar scores. Therefore, both of them could consider as first, the normative society, and second is indulgent lifestyle. The first difference is Australia with a 36 score, which is relatively democratic society. In a comparison, the power distance in Malaysia is extremely high centralized, even over 100. Overall, political system in two countries are totally different. The second difference is Malaysia have a lower UAI, maintain a relatively relaxed nation, and more easily tolerated, people having more flexible time. Self-images in two countries are diametrically opposed. While in Malaysia, people are educated to fellow member of group, but in Australia, people are encouraged to be more independent. Australian society are driven by masculinity, which illustrated that more competitive and rewarding. People are strive to be the best they can be, and the winner takes all. The second topic are used to indicate whether the two countries will be more similar or diverge. If two cultures want to be more convergence, three conditions must be met. They are physically close, economic ideology, and sharing the similar national cultures. Obviously, two conditions cannot be achieved. Overall, although people in two countries sharing a similar living attitude, like normative and indulgent, the political hierarchies and social structures are the main barriers for two cultures to be more similar in the future.
Now I will focus on Malaysia and Australian export industries.
In 1870, our political economist David Ricardo developed comparative advantage theory. He thought that even if a country does not have any absolute advantage, but as long as the opportunity cost of producing a product in one country is lower than other countries, the country has a comparative advantage in the production of this product. If every country exports specialized in its product with comparative advantage, the trade between two countries can benefit both countries. The comparative advantage can be measured by review comparative advantage (RCA). The principle is that if the RCA is greater than 1 for a particular sector, the country has a comparative advantage in that sector. The higher the number, the stronger the comparative advantage. Based on this theory, we can find out which industries Malaysia and Australia should specialize in when trading with other countries. Our team argues that Malaysia export industries should specialize in resource-based manufacturing, such as particular board, material of rubber and wood manufacturers. In fact, currently the major export of Malaysia are not those resource-based manufacturing but machines products, which accounts for 49% of Malaysia export share. According to a research, since 2000, Malaysia manufactured exports have fallen below their past performance and are gradually losing their comparative advantage in the production of machines products. The downturn of global electronic industries and China's growing dominance in the global export market for manufactured goods are the two major causes of Malaysia's performance decline. Additionally, according to the data from the OEC, although the RCA of some machine product is high, such as integrated circuits RCA, which is 4.5, the RCA of whole machine product is only 0.87. Facing the external influence and own rejection, Malaysia's export industry should therefore gradually shift from non-resource-based to resource-based manufacturing. By examining OEC data, we see that because of Malaysia's abundant natural resources, Malaysia has high comparative advantage with these resource-based manufacturing industries. For example, due to the fact that 16% of Malaysia is covered with natural forest, the RCA index of wood industry is 2.98. It indicates that Malaysia has comparative advantage in exporting wood products in comparison to other exports. In general, based on the RCA index, specializing in resource-based manufacturing is beneficial for Malaysia. Next, we look at Australia. Natural resources have played a decisive role in the evolution of Australian economy and still contribute significantly to export earnings, so Australia's export industry should specialize in energy industries and agriculture. Agricultural products are one of the Australian major exports. In 2017, animal and vegetable products accounted for 5.7% and 5.6% of Australian export respectively. According to RCA index, Australian RCA of animal and vegetable products are 2.99 and 1.45 respectively. It indicates that Australia has high corporate advantage in agriculture. The reasons being there are not only superior natural conditions but also land-intensive production mode. This production pattern can produce large outputs from a small amount of labor, which is a good solution of the high labor cost problem. For the energy industries, Australia should specialize in mining, especially the iron ore and coal briquettes. Because of its abundant natural resources, Australia has a wealth of mineral resources. Therefore, the RCA in iron ore and coal briquettes is at 13.9 and 15 respectively, and these mineral products represent 39% of the total export of Australia. Overall, Australia has high comparative advantage of these primary product industries, so that specializing in these industries is good for Australia. That is our video. Thank you for listening.